Chapter 24. Wisdom and common sense are the same. Why, you may ask, isn't common sense more common? We still know people close to us who have a particular problem. They can't see the solution to it, but everyone around them can, because the solution is simply common sense. However, the person with the problem is so caught up in their thinking about the problem that they miss the answer entirely. This is their blind spot. I am a perfect illustration. Not many years ago, the thought that I would one day be someone wise, someone other people would seek counsel from, would have been laughable. I spent so much time in my own head that I often missed simple solutions that were staring me in the face. I made mountains out of molehills. Everything was a bigger deal than it needed to be. Could the wisdom that would have been so helpful to me, and which I am now sharing in this book, simply be based on good old-fashioned common sense? I wouldn't have thought so then. Wisdom in my mind was something that came with age and experience, something that could only be imparted by an old man with a long white beard, or an old lady who had traveled the world twice over and had 27 grandchildren. I certainly would never have thought that I might one day be considered wise. But what if we are all wise beyond our years? Just so busy thinking, analyzing, and obsessing that we simply don't listen to that inner wisdom. As I started to really see my thinking for what it was, just thinking, and only what I chose to make of it, my mind started to settle. And as I have pointed out elsewhere, one side effect of really seeing how my mind worked was a quieter mind, one that allowed me to hear my own wisdom. The same holds true for you. When I didn't know this, I did an awful lot of thinking about my thinking. I'd think about what I said, what I didn't say, what I should have said, or done, or thought. Once I truly saw that I am always thinking, and so is everyone else, and that the only meaning given to my thinking is by me, through more thinking, it no longer made sense to analyze or overthink. Once I saw that my feelings were not telling me about other people, situations, or behaviors, but were a reflection of my thinking in that moment, it no longer made sense to analyze or overthink. If someone had told me this a few years ago, I might have seen the potential for truth in it, but it would have sounded far too simplistic. I also would have thought it could not be proven. At best, it would have sounded like wishful thinking. I certainly wouldn't have thought I'd be writing a book about it in the future. Now, after 6 years of seeing this in my own life, I know just how true it is. The more I understand it, the more I seem to align with common sense. I can draw another example of this idea at work in my life from the time when I was debating whether or not to quit my corporate job and coach full time. When I was making this decision, it seemed like a really big deal. I felt that the consequences were serious, and I was constantly thinking about and analyzing the problem, which didn't help. Eventually, I decided to try my best to not engage my intellect and see what came to me. Within a couple of days, I was struck by the answer. A friend of mine was offered a job by a coach. Although it wasn't a high paying position, it would cover his expenses and give him great experience. It suddenly occurred to me that I would be at least as valuable to this coach and could do the same. But then I also realized that I didn't need another coach to hire me. I could get the same great experience working for myself or covering my own expenses. This had always been true, but my mind had been so busy I hadn't been able to see this for myself. Wisdom shone through when I stopped overthinking. When I considered what it told me, everything made complete sense. I like to think of wisdom and common sense as one and the same. For me, wisdom is pure simplicity. Once you hear it, it makes complete sense. And I know that you have access to your own wisdom this very second. This is because Wisdom is a universal resource that every human being has access to. If your mind is quiet enough, you will hear it. I have seen enough clients realize and access this wisdom to know it is possible for anyone. It's interesting because in there, and it's a really powerful chapter actually. But what really struck me was when Kush is talking about how he got into coaching. Let's just go back to that again. It suddenly occurred to me that I'd be at least as valuable to this coach and could do the same. But then I also realized that I didn't need another coach to hire me. I could get the same great experience working for myself while covering my own expenses. That's brilliant, isn't it? That's like a whole business plan, like created immediately. That's incredible. Just out of a couple of small insights. He could do the same as this other coach, but he doesn't need to. He can just get the coaching clients he needs to cover expenses because he's learning, he's starting out. He's not trying to charge loads and loads of money, which some people do. And some people encourage that actually in coaching, go out and charge big fees to start with. Tends not to work. So he really got simplicity and wisdom and common sense about creating a whole business. Isn't that amazing? You think of the complexity that people talk about making business plans and projections and all of that. And that's basically a whole business created out of one or two insights. That's powerful stuff. See you on the next chapter.